They say it's just metal and stone. But when you spend months piecing it together, layaway payment by layaway payment, working weekends, skipping meals to hit your goal, that ring becomes more than just a proposal. It becomes a promise you're making to yourself. And I guess that's what stung the most. Not that she sold it. Not even that she used it to throw a party with her friends. But that it meant absolutely nothing to her. My name's Mark Ellison. I am 44. I run a small auto body shop on the east side of Columbus. It's nothing fancy, just me, a couple of guys, and the sound of compressors and wrench clicks most days. The kind of place where oil stains are permanent and coffee tastes like rubber. But it's mine. I never thought I'd propose again. First time I got close, I was 31 and dating a woman who left me for a chiropractor. After that, I figured I'd marry the shop instead. But then Trisha came along, 10 years younger, bright-eyed, full of ideas about open houses and wine tastings. She made me feel younger just being around her. We got engaged last fall. I gave her the ring in front of the shop, right under the neon sign. She cried, said it was the most beautiful thing anyone had ever done for her. I believed her. We were supposed to get married this summer. But that's not happening, because 3 weeks ago, I found a pawn ticket in her coat pocket while grabbing it off the rack. At first, I didn't even think much of it. She was always misplacing receipts, stashing things in weird places. But something about the way she flinched when she saw me holding it, it sat wrong. So I drove down to the shop listed on the slip. Asked them what was pawned. $15,000. White gold, 3-stone emerald cut with pave band. My ring, the one I skipped 3 oil changes on my own truck to afford. The one I thought was forever. And she sold it to throw a damn party. She held it like it might float away. The box was small, black velvet, nothing fancy. I remember my hands shaking as I opened it. Not from nerves exactly, just that quiet kind of adrenaline you get when you know everything's about to change, one way or another. We were standing outside the shop. Early October. The sun was going down behind the BP station across the street, washing the whole block in orange. Trisha had just closed on a house nearby. Her first big commission since switching brokerages, and I figured, hell, if not now, when? She gasped. I thought maybe she was choking. Then she cried. She kept whispering, "I don't deserve this," over and over again. And me, like a damn fool, I just kept saying, "You do. You do." Looking back, I wonder if she said that because she already knew. The ring wasn't just a ring to me. It was the late nights I spent alone in the garage, the extra shifts I worked instead of going out, the beat-up truck I kept driving so I could stash more money away. I skipped a vacation with my buddies in Michigan. I skipped Christmas presents. I skipped living like a normal adult because I wanted to start a life with her the right way. I didn't come from money. My dad was a machinist until his back gave out. My mom cleaned offices. We didn't do diamonds. We did practical. But I wanted her to feel like she mattered. So I went to 3 jewelers before I found the one that felt right. 3 stones. Emerald cut. Classy, but not flashy. Something permanent. She wore it everywhere. Showed it off at brunch. Took 100 selfies. Posted that I said yes. Caption like it was a trophy. But now, sitting here, I realize she liked the ring more than the reason behind it. And maybe deep down I knew that. It was a Wednesday. I remember because the shop was dead. No appointments, no walk-ins, not even a tire rotation. I was folding laundry, half watching a rerun of some cooking show I didn't care about, when I reached into her coat pocket. It was that tan trench she always wore when she wanted to look expensive. I never liked it. Too stiff, too clean. Didn't fit with our lives. Inside was a small slip of paper, folded once, soft from wear. I thought it might be a receipt or one of those flyers people leave on windshields. But when I opened it, my gut clenched. Pawn receipt. Date, 2 weeks ago. Item, white gold ring with 3 diamonds. Value, $3,800 cash received. I read it 3 times. Then a 4th. I sat down on the edge of the bed and held it between my fingers like it might burn. It didn't make sense at first. My ring was worth 5 times that. I'd paid $15,200, even after the discount for paying in full. It had papers, certification, the whole thing. Why would she pawn it for pennies? Unless she didn't care, or didn't expect me to find out. I stared at her side of the closet. All her shoes lined up perfectly. The fake designer bags. That stupid frame print that said "good vibes only" hanging above her makeup mirror. I felt like an idiot. Like a guy who bought into the packaging and ignored the contents. The pawn shop was just 6 miles away. I drove there. No music. No AC. Just me gripping the wheel like it was the last thing keeping me from falling apart. The guy behind the counter recognized the description before I even finished. Said it was still in the back, in the 30-day hold window. He looked at me, this wiry man with a smoker's cough and a NASCAR cap, and said, "Man, you the one bought that ring?" I nodded. He let out a low whistle. "Sorry, brother. Hate when I see this." Me too. I didn't say anything to her that night. I couldn't. I sat across from her at the dinner table, watching her scroll through her phone like nothing had happened. She was laughing at some video, one of those stupid TikToks with a dog dressed like a toddler. I wanted to scream. Instead, I stared at the way her diamond-less hand moved through the air as she talked. She hadn't even replaced it with a decoy, just bare skin where a promise used to be. She told me the bachelorette weekend was going to be low-key. Cabin up north, wine, card games, just the girls. Wholesome was the word she used. I almost laughed at that in hindsight. That night, after she fell asleep, I got on her iPad. She'd left it open on the couch. She'd blocked me from viewing her Instagram stories. I didn't even know you could do that. But she forgot to block my cousin Rachel, who follows her out of politeness. I logged in through Rachel's account. There they were. Videos of Trisha and her friends in a hot tub with guys. Not relatives. Not childhood friends. Guys with six-packs and drinks and hands way too familiar for strangers. One clip showed her sitting on a guy's lap, laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. My ring, wasn't even on her finger. Probably already at the pawn shop by then. Maya, her influencer friend, had posted a boomerang of the champagne popping. Last wild weekend for our girl. There wasn't a single photo of the cabin, or the wine, or the cards. Just bodies, booze, and lies. And what got me most was that they looked so proud of it. Like they were doing something bold, rebellious, fun. Not cruel, not cowardly, not disrespectful. I sat there in the dark, the glow of the iPad lighting up my knees, and I felt something in me snap. Not loudly, not like a firecracker, more like a quiet thread finally breaking. There's a special kind of shame that creeps in when you realize the joke's on you. Not in a loud, slapstick way, no banana peel moment. Just this cold awareness that everyone else saw it coming, and you were the last to know. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not Tyrone at the shop, not my sister, not even my buddy Dave, who always hated Trisha and would have relished the "I told you so." Because how do you explain something like that without sounding like a fool? Hey, remember that woman I said was the best thing to happen to me? Yeah, she hocked the ring I gave her so she could sit in a stranger's lap in a hot tub. No thanks. So instead, I showed up at work, fixed a radiator, checked invoices, cleaned the oil traps. I did everything like nothing had happened. But inside, it was like someone left the garage door open in my chest, and all the warmth had blown out. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I'd lie there in the dark, staring at the ceiling fan, asking questions I already knew the answers to. When did she stop loving me? Did she ever? I went back to the pawn shop 3 days later, just to look at the ring again. I didn't bring cash, just wanted to see it. Remind myself it was real. There it was, sitting under glass like a museum piece. Beautiful, untouched, cold. I asked the guy if anyone had come to reclaim it. He shook his head. Nah, most don't. They just say they will. That hit harder than it should have. She hadn't even tried to get it back. It was never lost, just thrown away. And maybe, if I'm being honest, it wasn't just the ring. It was everything. The talks about the future, the wedding plans, the idea that someone finally saw me not as a paycheck or a handyman, but as something steady. That's what hurts most. Realizing that the version of her I loved only ever existed in my head. I didn't confront her. Not right away. Not even after I watched the videos or held the pawn slip like it might turn to ash in my hand. I just started canceling things. Venue? Gone. Called the manager and told him there wouldn't be a wedding. He sounded sympathetic, but asked if I was still within the refundable window. I was. Barely. Florist? Canceled. Photographer? Canceled. Cake tasting? Skipped. I even called the DJ, a guy named I went to high school with, and told him to open the date. He paused and said, "Everything okay, man?" I told him it will be. That was the most I'd said about it to anyone. And then came the hard part. I started messaging the boyfriends of her friends, the ones I'd seen in those videos. Some I barely knew. One guy, Caleb, was in a fantasy football league with me. Another, Joe, I only met once at a cookout. I didn't send drama. Just a screenshot or two. Quietly. Without commentary. They all saw what I saw. Responses varied. Caleb called me. Joe didn't even reply. Just unfollowed Maya the next morning, and then Trisha 2 hours later. Word traveled fast after that. One by one, the relationships started unraveling like loose threads on a cheap suit. Still, I didn't say a word to her. I waited. Waited for her to notice the cancellations. Waited for her to check the calendar and realize we were 6 weeks out and nothing was happening. She finally brought it up one night while we were watching TV. Some dating reality show was on. One of those where people get engaged after knowing each other for 10 days. She turned to me and said, "We should do something like that. Just elope. Skip the fuss." I didn't even look at her. I just said, "Too late." She laughed, thinking I was joking. But I wasn't. The day I sold the ring, it rained. Not the soft, movie kind of rain that makes you want to hold someone's hand under an umbrella, but the sideways, windshield smearing Ohio kind that makes everything look like a smudged memory. I had the box in my glove compartment. Same when it came in. Still smelled faintly of the cologne I wore the day I proposed. For a minute, I sat in the parking lot of the pawn shop with the engine running, wipers thumping, wondering if this was the moment I'd regret. But I didn't. Not even a little. Because the ring wasn't love anymore. It was dead. Wait. Rotting cargo. Keeping it was like storing leftovers from a meal that gave you food poisoning. I walked in, handed it over, and didn't flinch when the guy behind the counter asked, "Sure you want to do this?" "I'm sure," I said. "I'm tired of holding on to things that don't hold on to me." He counted out the cash, just under $4,000 after fees. A far cry from what I paid, but I didn't blink. That money had new work to do. I deposited it into my business account that afternoon. Called Tyrone to tell him we were moving forward with a new lift we'd been talking about for months. The one that would let us take on more complex undercarriage jobs. Higher profit, longer client retention, more growth. Real things. Solid things. Things that don't vanish the minute someone gets bored. And you know what? That night, I slept like a man who didn't owe the past a damn thing. She noticed the silence before she noticed the missing pieces. It started with the cake tasting. "Didn't we have that this weekend?" she asked, flipping through her planner like the answer had fallen between pages. I just shrugged and said, "Guess not." Next came the florist. Then the DJ. Eventually, she got the hint. Or maybe it was the envelope from the venue refund sitting on the kitchen counter, unbothered, unopened. She waited until Sunday night to confront me. I was outside, cleaning out the gutters, because nothing clears the mind like wet leaves and elbow grease. She walked out in one of those I'm about to be dramatic silk robes, arms folded like she was freezing, but too proud to go back in. "What's going on?" she asked. I didn't look at her, just kept scooping out gunk. "We're not getting married." There it was, flat and dry like an old tire. She laughed, thought I was joking. Then she saw my face. I guess that's when it clicked. She did the whole routine, tears, pacing, the gaslight special. Said I was overreacting. Said it was just a fun weekend with the girls. Swore nothing happened. Swore she was going to get the ring back. Swore I was throwing everything away over a misunderstanding. I let her talk, let her spin the web. Then I told her about the pawn shop, the stories, the videos, the fact that I knew everything and had known it for weeks. She just stood there. All the air went out of her. Her voice got small. For the first time since I met her, she looked like someone who ran out of lies mid-sentence. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just said, "Pack your things." And I went back to the gutters. By Monday, she was gone. 2 suitcases. 1 crying spell. 0 apologies. She didn't take much. Just her clothes, some jewelry, the framed live, laugh, love sign I always hated. Left her coffee mugs and half a bottle of shampoo in the shower, like she might come back. But she wouldn't. I changed the locks that night. Not because I thought she'd break in. She wasn't that type. I just needed the ritual, like burning sage or tossing out old takeout containers. A symbolic sweep of the place. The house was quiet. Quieter than I remembered. No curling iron buzzing in the morning. No perfume cloud following her out the door. No humming in the kitchen while she made those Pinterest breakfasts she never actually ate. It wasn't sad quiet. It was clean quiet, like the sound of something heavy finally set down. I boxed up the leftover wedding stuff, ribbons, candles, a guest book we hadn't filled out yet, and took it to the garage. Put it in the corner next to the used tires. Out of sight, out of mind. Tyrone showed up later that evening. He must have sensed it. Didn't ask questions. Just brought pizza and 2 cold beers. We sat in the garage, door open, rain dripping off the roof, and ate in silence. Eventually, he said, "You good?" I nodded. Getting there, he clinked his bottle against mine. Better alone than betrayed, man. We didn't say much after that. Didn't need to. Some friendships don't need fixing. They just show up when the dust settles. 3 weeks later, the lift was installed. It came in pieces, big, greasy, powder blue steel beams, and cables that looked like they could hoist a tank. Tyrone and I unpacked it like kids on Christmas morning, except instead of wrapping paper, we had oil-stained gloves and socket wrenches. Installing it took 2 full days and a lot of yelling through the sound of impact drills. But when it rose for the first time, smooth, steady, humming like a promise, I felt something shift in my chest. Not closure, not forgiveness, just forward motion. We booked our first big job a week later. A full suspension overhaul on a 68 Charger. The kind of job I used to turn down because we didn't have the equipment. Now it was ours, and it felt earned. I started coming in early again. Coffee in hand, music low, door halfway up to let the morning light spill onto the shop floor. It wasn't just a routine, it was therapy. Each car, each fix, each greasy bolt was a way of stitching myself back together. I wasn't checking Instagram. I wasn't wondering if she missed me. I knew she didn't. People like that don't miss you. They miss the version of themselves they got to play when you were around. And honestly, I didn't miss her either. I missed who I thought she was. But even that faded fast. Tyrone brought up the wedding one day, just casually, while we were changing out brake pads. You ever think about what you'd say to her now if she walked in? I tightened the caliper bolt and said, yeah. I tell her thanks. Thanks, he raised a brow. Yeah, I said, for getting out of the way. It's been 6 months now. The shop runs smoother than it ever has. The new lift paid for itself after the 3rd month. We added a paint booth in the back, hired another mechanic, young guy named Leo, sharp as hell. Some mornings, I sit in the office with my coffee and just watch the sun creep across the floor tiles. The smell of rubber, gasoline, and old coffee. It's home. It's mine. And it doesn't disappoint me. People still ask what happened with the wedding. I don't get into details. I just say, didn't work out, and change the subject. Most people get it. The ones who don't matter. Trisha texted once. Just a short message. Hope you're well. I didn't reply. Not out of anger. Just because there was nothing left to say. Sometimes I catch myself remembering small things. The way she'd trace her finger on the window when it fogged up. How she'd hum to herself folding laundry. And I feel nothing. Not bitterness. Not nostalgia. Just the strange silence that comes when a storm finally passes and you realize the house is still standing. The ring? I don't regret it anymore. That money built something better than a marriage could have. It bought clarity. It bought space. It bought me. I drive a rebuilt 72 Camaro now. Cherry red, mean engine, smooth ride. I take it out on Sunday mornings down Broad Street. Windows down, music loud. People look, sometimes wave. Sometimes I wave back. And I think, I used to invest in people. Now I invest in peace. Same money, better return.